The Indiana Fever break attendance and viewership records in their preseason game against the Brazilian national team. So what does this mean for the WNBA as a whole, and can they finally become a profitable league this season? What's up, you guys? I'm Rachel DeMita, and welcome to the Courtside Club. The numbers are in. ESPN released the viewership numbers for the Indiana Fever versus the Brazilian national team game. This was the game that was held at Iowa on Sunday. So the game averaged 1.3 million viewers. It peaked at 1.6 million, and this was up 13% over last year's regular season ESPN average for WNBA games. So of all WNBA games last year, this was up 13%, the viewership for a preseason game. Now, Rebecca Lobo also gave some context, and she said since 2010, only 2 NBA preseason games outrated this game. And that was in 2018, the Warriors versus the Lakers, when LeBron had his first game in LA, and that averaged 2 million viewers. And also in 2017, it was the Bulls versus the Cavs, and that was LeBron again after they had just lost in the finals, and that game averaged 1.37 million viewers. Who thought that we would see the day where WNBA numbers were overtaking NBA numbers? And you guys, I predict that this is going to be something that happens for the entirety of the WNBA season, especially with this Indiana Fever team. This is motion. This is hype like we have never seen. And I thought it was going to be like this, but when you see the numbers right in front of you, 1.3 million viewers for a preseason game, and a preseason game where they won by 64 points. Now, this is no shade to the Brazilian national team, but the Brazilian national team is not better than any WNBA team. That is the worst team that the Indiana Fever is going to play for the entirety of this season. It has also been reported, as we know, that 41 out of 44 of the Indiana Fever's games will be on national television. So this is not only good for the Indiana Fever, this is great for the entire WNBA, because all of those games, every time the Indiana Fever is on national television, they will be playing against another team in the WNBA. So with that, more storylines are going to develop. People are going to be exposed to more players, not only this Indiana Fever team, but whatever team they are going up against. Now, I have to say that I did try to find the numbers from the other preseason games to see what kind of viewership numbers they had. I couldn't find an accurate number, so I can't compare these numbers to other preseason games in the WNBA. Just thought I'd let you guys know that I looked for it. So with that, I wanted to go over some of the numbers from last season, from the 2024 season, because I do think that this is going to be the biggest WNBA season that we have ever seen. When it comes to attendance, when it comes to viewership, when it comes to jersey sales, when it comes to merch sales, it's going to be the biggest that we have seen. But if we look back at 2024, here are the top games from that 2024 season. 3.3 million, the Indiana Fever versus the Chicago Sky game on June 23rd was the most watched WNBA game on any network in the past 23 years, peaking at 3.3 million viewers. 2.97 million viewers was the Indiana Fever versus the Connecticut Sun, and that became the most viewed WNBA game on ESPN platforms in history, peaking at 2.97 million viewers. This was, I believe, Caitlin Clark's last game in the WNBA. And then also, of course, the WNBA All-Star game had 3.4 million viewers, and that's the most watched WNBA program in ESPN history. If you guys remember, that was Team USA versus the WNBA All-Stars, where the WNBA All-Stars beat Team USA, and there was that whole drama about leaving Caitlin Clark off of that Team USA team. A lot of people, including myself, thought that she should have been brought to the Olympics, but she wasn't, and her team there ended up winning that game. There were also a lot of WNBA games on ION, and a lot of people didn't even know what ION was before the WNBA season started. But if you look at the 7 games with more than 1 million viewers on ION, the Indiana Fever Fever is every single one of those 7 games. 1.6 million, 1.34 million, 1.26 million. You guys can see. And they're playing here against the Chicago Sky, against the Mercury, against the Lynx, against the Aces, against the Dream, and against the Mystics. It doesn't truly matter who the Indiana Fever is going up against. They're going to get viewership and they're going to get attendance. And the preseason game against the Brazilian national team proved that. I don't know how many people in America knew any of the players on the Brazilian national team. And again, this is no shade to them. I thought that they were so classy. They were excited to be there, and that was a great opportunity for them. But we're not familiar with players on that team, and they're not a good team when it comes to WNBA standards. So you see the type of viewership that tuned in for that. Just think of what is going to happen when Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever are going up against these tough teams in the WNBA, and the Indiana Fever is going to be a much better team than they were last season. So they're going to be winning a lot more games. They're going to be true rivalries. I also predict that the Angel Reese Caitlin Clark rivalry is going to be dead on arrival. I think that rivalry is actually done. I think it's already done. Never truly made sense. It was fabricated from college. They don't play the same position. They've never once guarded one another. There was just, you guys know the story, the whole thing that happened in college. I think now at this point, they are both becoming their own. Caitlin Clark is going to have new rivals and Angel Reese will have her own new rivals. I think that rivalry, it's dead. I see more rivalries coming with Caitlin Clark when it comes to the MVP discussion because her name is going to be in that mix and it's going to be in that mix fast. I see with Angel Reese more rivalries coming with other post players, her actual position where that makes sense for her. I also wanted to mention that in yesterday's video, I did a little bit of math wrong. So I told you guys that the average ticket price for that Brazilian national team game was $650. Well, the average ticket price was actually $670, and the final attendance in Carver Hawkeye Arena was 14,998. So if you do the math, that is over $10 million in ticket sales. $10,480,660 to be exact. And I know that a lot of those ticket sales are resale, so not all of that is going directly to the WNBA. But if you think about $10 million being generated in just ticket sales for one preseason game, think about the ticket sales, and the price of tickets are going to go up. Hopefully it doesn't outpace the actual fans. Like, it doesn't get too crazy. It already is getting pretty crazy. Even what I paid for my courtside seats to that first preseason game was a little insane. But just think about the amount of revenue that this Indiana Fever is going to bring in and how promising that is for the WNBA, because the biggest thing about the WNBA is it has not yet been profitable in a sense that it's able to make enough profit to pay the players a significant salary for the work that they are doing. And that is one thing. The new CBA goes into effect next year, and the players are going to be negotiating that ahead of next season. And so this year is such a make or break time for these players, for these teams to prove we can get the attendance, we can get the viewership, and the Indiana Fever might be able to do that themselves. They might outpace the rest of the WNBA in viewership and ticket sales if this preseason game was any indication of what we are going to see throughout the season. But what I am so optimistic about is I think with so much motion and hype and fire that this Indiana Fever team has behind them, when they are going up and they are going to these different arenas and going up against these different teams, it's so much more exposure for these other teams and these other players for people to become fans of, to get invested in, to want to watch their games as well. And that is what I've kind of been saying for the entirety of last season, because we knew that this was going to happen. There's fan bases like the New York Liberty that have a pretty hardcore fan base, but their fan base is going to grow even more because of the trickle-down effect that's happening with the Caitlin Clark effect and with the motion that the Indiana Fever has. And I truly think that this is going to be the first year in WNBA history that this league is profitable. And if they can continue down this path, and we've seen so many promising things with the way that the league is marketing their players now, the way they're marketing their teams now, the way that they're putting 41 out of 44 games on national television with the Indiana Fever. They're not shying away from some of these things. They're not shying away from the moment like I felt like they did last year, and it honestly pissed me off because there was a lot of missed opportunities. They're doing so many things right this year, and I'm so excited for what that means for the league and what that means for every single player in this league. So jump on board, you guys. Get excited for this season. These viewership and attendance numbers might not only break WNBA records, but they might break NBA records as well. It's all exciting stuff. It's all super cool to see. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And of course, thumbs up this video if you enjoyed it. Click that little subscribe button because we upload new videos every single week. I also do plan to go live sometime this week for a couple more of the preseason games, so make sure that you guys subscribe, turn your notification bell on so you don't miss any of those. And with that, you guys, I think that's all I have, and I'll see you next time. Ooh,